Have you ever felt a knot in your stomach at the very thought of confrontation? That sinking feeling when you know you need to speak up, to stand your ground, or to address a difficult issue, but the fear of conflict holds you back? We've all been there. Our modern world often teaches us that confrontation is something to be avoided, a messy, unpleasant business that disrupts harmony. But what if I told you that this perspective is not only holding you back, but is fundamentally at odds with the philosophy of strength, resilience, and inner peace? The Stoics, ancient masters of the human mind, saw things very differently. They believed that confrontation, when approached correctly, is not a threat to our tranquility, but a vital opportunity to practice virtue and forge an unshakable character. It is a gymnasium for the soul, a place where we train our courage, wisdom, and self-control. Today, we're going to explore this profound shift in mindset. We will learn how to stop fearing confrontation and instead embrace it as a powerful catalyst for personal growth, transforming challenging moments into your greatest triumphs. This isn't about learning to win arguments. It's about learning to win over yourself. What if every difficult conversation was a test, a deliberate exercise designed to make you stronger, wiser, and more just? This is the core of the Stoic approach to confrontation. It is not an unfortunate accident or a social failure. It is a practical examination of the four cardinal virtues: courage, wisdom, justice, and self-control. When you face a disagreement with a colleague, a conflict with a loved one, or a moment where you must defend your principles, you are being handed a golden opportunity. Will you act with courage, speaking the truth even if your voice shakes? Will you apply wisdom, understanding the bigger picture and choosing your words carefully? Will you strive for justice, ensuring your actions are fair and considerate of others? And will you maintain self-control, refusing to be hijacked by anger, fear, or pride? Each confrontation becomes a real-world scenario to put your philosophical training into practice. It's one thing to read about these virtues in a book, but it is in the friction of human interaction that they are truly forged. Think of it like a blacksmith's fire. The intense heat of conflict is uncomfortable, but it is precisely this heat that allows you to hammer your character into a tool of strength and integrity. By reframing confrontation in this way, you move from a mindset of avoidance to one of active engagement, seeing every challenge not as a problem to escape, but as a curriculum for your own development. The goal is no longer to avoid the test, but to pass it with flying colors, knowing that with each one, you become more of the person you aspire to be. Let's talk about courage, because it's a word we often misunderstand. In Stoicism, courage isn't the absence of fear. A person who feels no fear in a dangerous situation is not courageous. They are reckless. True Stoic courage, or Andrea is the act of feeling the fear, the racing heart, the sweaty palms, the swirl of what-ifs, and doing what is right anyway. It is the rational mind asserting its authority over the primal instinct to flee. The Stoics teach that courage is a disciplined knowledge of what should and should not be feared. We should not fear the opinions of others, the possibility of awkwardness, or even the loss of a relationship, if that relationship is contingent on our silence and submission. What we should fear is a life of cowardice, of inauthenticity, of failing to live up to our own principles. As the great Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. In the context of confrontation, this means recognizing your fear as a natural biological response, but choosing to act not from that fear, but from reason and principle. It is the disciplined choice to engage in a difficult conversation because it is the just and wise thing to do, regardless of the discomfort it brings. It's about taking a deep breath, acknowledging the fear without judgment, and then moving forward with intention. This form of courage is a muscle. The more you exercise it in small daily confrontations, the stronger it becomes, until facing bigger challenges feels less like a terrifying leap and more like a familiar, manageable step. The true battlefield of any confrontation is not between you and the other person. It is within your own mind. The Stoics were masters of emotional resilience, understanding that our inner state is the only thing truly under our command. When you enter a confrontation, your initial impulses will often be defensive. You might feel a surge of anger, a sting of injustice, or a wave of anxiety. The untrained mind reacts instantly to these impulses, leading to raised voices, hurtful words, and escalated conflict. The Stoic, however, has practiced creating a space between the stimulus and the response. In that crucial pause, they can manage their impulses, remain calm, and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. This is the art of maintaining your inner citadel, a fortress of tranquility that external events cannot breach. A key part of building this resilience is accepting what is beyond your control. As the philosopher Epictetus famously taught, some things are in our control and others not. You cannot control what the other person says, how they react, or what the ultimate outcome of the confrontation will be. Trying to force these things will only lead to frustration and suffering. Your power lies entirely in how you choose to respond. You can control your own words, your own perspective, and your own actions. By focusing your energy exclusively on what you can control your own character and response, you become emotionally bulletproof. The other person's anger becomes their problem, not yours. Their irrationality does not have to provoke your own. You can stand firm, calm, and rational, like a rock in the middle of a stormy sea, responding with a clarity and purpose that is impossible when you are drowning in reactive emotion. This leads us to one of the most empowering shifts in the Stoic worldview, viewing confrontation not as a threat, but as a precious opportunity. When you cease to see conflict as a negative event to be survived, you can begin to see it as a positive opportunity for growth and the practice of virtue. Every time someone challenges you, misunderstands you, or opposes you, they are, in a sense, acting as your sparring partner in the gymnasium of life. They are providing you with a live, real-world chance to practice patience, to exercise empathy, to demonstrate courage, and to apply wisdom. Without these challenges, your virtues would remain theoretical, untested, and weak. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The very thing you perceive as an obstacle, the confrontation, is in fact the path to your own improvement. To truly embrace this, you must transform your inner dialogue. Instead of thinking, "Oh no, I have to deal with this conflict," you can learn to think, "Here is a chance to practice my principles. Here is an opportunity to be the kind of person I want to be." This reframe doesn't just make confrontation more palatable. It makes it meaningful. It imbues a difficult and often stressful part of human experience with a profound sense of purpose. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but an active participant in your own character development, using the raw material of everyday life to sculpt a more virtuous and resilient self. A confrontation does not have to be a battle. The Stoic ideal is to transform a potential conflict into a productive dialogue, and the tools for this transformation are active listening and empathy. Too often, we enter a confrontation with our own agenda, waiting for our turn to speak, to defend our position, and to prove the other person wrong. The Stoic approach is radically different. It begins with a genuine effort to understand. Active listening means giving the other person your full, undivided attention, not just to their words, but to the emotions and needs behind them. It means seeking to comprehend their perspective, even if you don't agree with it. This is an act of wisdom and justice. Empathy, in the Stoic sense, is not about feeling the other person's emotions, which could compromise your own tranquility. Instead, it is about intellectually understanding their point of view. It is the ability to say to yourself, from their perspective, with their beliefs and experiences, their position makes sense. This doesn't mean you condone their behavior or abandon your own principles. It simply means you are approaching the situation with a rational understanding that they, too, are acting based on what they believe is right. When you can genuinely communicate this understanding, "I hear what you're saying, and I can see why you feel that way," you immediately lower their defenses. You are no longer two opposing forces clashing. You are two rational individuals trying to bridge a gap. This creates a foundation of mutual respect, turning a monologue of grievances into a dialogue of solutions. It's a powerful shift from a zero-sum game, where one must win and one must lose, to a collaborative effort to find a better, more truthful way forward together. The wisdom of the great Stoic philosophers provides a timeless guide for navigating fear and confrontation. Their advice is as practical today as it was 2,000 years ago. Seneca, in his letters, constantly reminds us to distinguish between what is truly harmful and what is merely frightening. He advises, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. When you feel fear about a confrontation, ask yourself, am I in actual danger, or am I just afraid of a potential imagined outcome? More often than not, you are suffering in your mind from a scenario that has not and may never happen. Epictetus, a former slave who became a celebrated teacher, provides the ultimate tool for inner peace, the dichotomy of control. He urges us to relentlessly focus our energy only on what is up to us, our judgments, our intentions, and our actions. The other person's response is not up to us. The outcome is not up to us. By internalizing this, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to manage the unmanageable. Finally, there is the emperor-philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, who reminds us of our shared humanity and the importance of virtue. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When someone is aggressive or unfair in a confrontation, the greatest victory is not to stoop to their level, but to respond with an unwavering commitment to your own virtues of kindness, justice, and self-control. These are not just inspiring quotes. They are practical, operational commands for your mind. They are the tools you can use in the heat of the moment to anchor yourself in reason and to act with a courage born not of aggression, but of profound integrity. So, how do we begin to put this into practice? Let's make it concrete. First, the next time you anticipate a difficult conversation, conduct a premeditatio malorum, or a premeditation of evils. Visualize the worst-case scenario. The conversation goes horribly. The person gets angry. The outcome is not what you wanted. Now, sit with that feeling. Realize that you can survive it. You will still be you. Your character will be intact. This exercise desensitizes you to the fear. Second, during the confrontation, practice the pause. When you feel a rush of emotion, take a deliberate, deep breath before you speak. Use that 1-second gap to ask yourself, what would be the wise and virtuous response here? This simple habit can be the difference between a reactive outburst and a thoughtful reply. Third, start every difficult conversation by practicing active listening. Begin with a phrase like, "Help me understand your perspective," and then genuinely listen. Try to repeat back what you heard to ensure you understand correctly. This act alone can transform the entire dynamic of the interaction. Finally, anchor yourself in your purpose. Before you go in, remind yourself why you are having this confrontation. It's not to win or to be right. It is to seek truth, to act with integrity, or to solve a problem justly. This higher purpose will be your North Star, guiding you through the emotional turbulence. Start small. Practice with low-stakes confrontations. A minor disagreement about plans, a small request you're afraid to make. Each time you act with stoic courage, you strengthen the muscle. You are not just handling a problem. You are building a version of yourself that is unshakable, resilient, and free. You are learning that the path to growth is not found by avoiding what is difficult, but by facing it with virtue and grace. The obstacle is the way. Go and walk it.